Sir, thank you, Mike. New this morning, a man fighting for his life after San Antonio police say he was shot several times overnight. Happened just after midnight in the parking lot of a sports bar located in the 2100 block of Southeast Loop 410 near Highway 87. SAPD says an argument between the victim and another man spilled out into the parking lot outside, and that's when police say the suspect pulled a gun and shot the victim several times in the chest. SAPD says the suspect dropped the gun and ran towards a Walmart and was later detained by officers. The victim is in critical condition at a hospital.
Turning now to the pandemic, Metro Health is reporting that 3 people have died from COVID. It's also reporting 544 new cases. Right now, 469 COVID patients are in the hospital. 132 of them are in the ICU and 65 are on ventilators.
In morning headlines, the East-West face-off over Ukraine has escalated dramatically, with Russian lawmakers giving President Vladimir Putin permission to use military force outside his country. President Joe Biden and European leaders are responding by slapping sanctions on Russian oligarchs and banks. Both leaders signaled that an even bigger confrontation could lie ahead. Putin has 150,000 troops standing by on 3 sides of Ukraine. So far, Biden says he's held back on the toughest sanctions that could cause economic turmoil for Russia, but would proceed if there is further aggression.
19 Austin police officers have been indicted for their actions during the 2020 George Floyd protests and riots. Documents say the officers each face 2 counts of aggravated assault by a public servant. They are accused of intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly causing serious bodily harm. Last week, the Travis County District Attorney said that multiple indictments were forthcoming. The DA said many protesters injured by the officers were innocent bystanders. If convicted, the officers could face 5 to 99 years of life in prison and a potential fine of up to $10,000. Austin's police chief says he stands by the officers and believes their conduct did not rise to the level of a criminal violation. Now to the closing arguments at the trial of 3 former police officers charged in the death of George Floyd.
Yeah, we're getting new insight of what happened on that street in Minneapolis back in 2020. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more.
Jury deliberations are set to begin today in the case against 3 former Minneapolis police officers involved in George Floyd's death. Tou Thao, Alexander King, and Thomas Lane are charged with depriving Floyd of his civil rights by failing to administer aid when Officer Derek Chauvin pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes.
They're going to look at each individual officer's actions, what they did, what they didn't do during the time in which they were involved with Mr. Floyd.
During closing arguments Tuesday, prosecutors said the officers chose to do nothing as Floyd died. And they accuse Officer Thao, Chauvin's partner, of doing nothing to stop the crime in front of him, saying instead he had chosen to argue and mock people who tried to intervene. Tao's lawyer called Floyd's death a tragic event, but said a tragedy is not a crime.
This particular instance, I don't think speaks to that, because we have innocent bystanders with no training at all that were aware that something was amiss.
Prosecutors also showed video of King casually picking gravel from the tire of a police SUV as Chauvin mocked Floyd's pleas for help. Although Lane voiced concern for Floyd, prosecutors say Lane did nothing to give him medical aid. Defense attorneys placed the blame on Chauvin, the senior officer, arguing he took command of the scene. The former officers with him that day now face life in prison if convicted, but legal experts say the verdicts could vary.
Each person has a level of responsibility, and these charges determine where each person lies on that level of responsibility. So you can absolutely see varying verdicts.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
436, 47 degrees for now, but it will be dropping.